the difference between sort of a modern marriage and a sacred union. And so there are quite a few differences, and a lot of them have to do with the reclamation of our divine essences. And so you may have heard about twin flames or sacred union or soulmates, and these are all kind of similar ideas. I would say some of these ideas have been fantastical or new ageified, and that has sort of disconnected them and unmoored them from their original kind of ancient ideologies. The modern marriage right now is really in service to a very toxic patriarchy. And I am not against patriarchal cultures, meaning like masculine-led systems. I think that masculine can be incredible leaders. So what we're talking about when I say patriarchy is kind of the current paradigm where vanity, ego, and power seeking and status seeking have surpassed values of family and love and true spiritual growth through community, and valuing an equality of the masculine and feminine, and an honoring of the differences between masculine and feminine, and the equal value and service that is bestowed between a man and a woman when they are together, and a respect and honoring of the exchange of sexuality between a man and a woman. And so when we look at a lot of modern marriages through the lens of sacred union and the departure society has taken away from sacred union, we see really vanity at play, and this idea of the divine masculine maybe wanting to reach divinity, or not knowing he would like to reach divinity, but feeling a disconnect and that something is quite off. And Carl Jung coined this term, the enantiodromio. The enantiodromio is a concept that in very polarized situations, everything must return to its opposite. So every extreme will begin to become its opposite over time. And so we're also seeing that in the book of Revelations, where there's a lot of talk about sacred union and this reclamation of man turning his back on these ideas of greed and lust, and moving into his heart, calling in his divine partner. And so what's been perpetrated in our culture for centuries now is really an idea that the feminine is to want a certain lifestyle from the masculine. So she is more than willing to step into a marriage where he is allowed and able to cling to habits, behaviors, destructive ideas, as long as she is able to have a certain lifestyle. And so what we're seeing through that lens is now an idea that the masculine is really feeling empty, and he doesn't understand what this is about. But what it really is about is that the divine feminine has been repressed. The divine feminine in the early patriarchal conquering colonialist movements throughout this world have basically disowned the feminine, made the divine feminine become oppressed, which she's still living, but now in the subconscious of our culture and of our psyche and of the masculine psyche. And so men are having this crisis, this feeling of disconnection. And it is because that divine feminine has been offline, and he is having a subconscious yearning of her coming back online. He didn't see it probably in his mother. He has not seen it in the women that society has told him are available to him. He's maybe indulged in being with women who society has told him are available to him, who have kept him in his and enabled him in his destructive patterns, in his addictions, in his darker impulses that have kept him stuck in karmic loops of darkness, in his shadow self, in his shadow king, in his shadow prince, in his shadow warrior, as a tyrant, as a little boy, as an impotent lover, or as an exploitive lover. And so within those dynamics of his disconnection from that pure divine feminine, he is yearning for something greater, and that is his divine masculine self. And so sacred union is not something that we find by surfacely looking for a partner, looking for a transactional love. Sacred union is literally the phenomenon that men and women come together to create another world and to become one. And within that oneness, they recognize the oneness consciousness that is life itself, that is spirit itself. And they come into a union that their souls have aligned, and that even quantum theory, things like quantum entanglement, have deduced could be actually a sharing of subatomic particles within our bodies, within a very deep cosmology that connects us to our sacred union partner. And so this process can be one that is very painful because there is a lot of ego death that goes on. And as we start to come online with consciousness, we are upgrading our nervous system, our ability to hold this wisdom, and our ability to see where we have fallen into these distorted templates and narratives that have kept us stuck in our egoic, systemic, and karmic loops, and breaking free of those so that we can step into our true nature and the spiritual upliftment of ourselves, which ripples into the upliftment of the planet. And so in this divine mirror of a sacred union, this is the reclaiming and redemption that we're stepping into for the sacred union to take place within us, within our own inner masculine and feminine, healing the wounds and the distortions within us, and through our partners having an awakening and being able to see our partners through this union of awakening. And I believe that everyone on this planet is meant to walk into sacred union. And that doesn't mean that you have to do that through a romantic partner. But doing this work with yourself is the step towards finding that sacred union and being able to bring that type of union. And it is not for everyone, as I mentioned earlier in this program. But that is the difference between a regular marriage, which in our culture is very much based on lust, on making you look good, making me look good, having a certain life that looks good on paper, but that really encourages a lot of transactional ideas, making the man and the husband very much a slave to a lifestyle, rather than exalting a husband into the expansion of his purpose and an upliftment of humanity, and allowing him to witness his most godlike nature. And the man bringing to the feminine the full penetration of the love and the fearlessness and the surrender that she can have into her own light, to exalt his light, to see his light come online. And this idea and understanding that the feminine is the Holy Grail. She is the holder of this wisdom and this expansion when she's exalted into her divine self and able to come out of the subconscious and some of that process for the feminine is also her coming into her rage and her resentment for having been hidden for so long. And so divine entities, divine deities like the goddess Kali and Lilith and these other more fierce feminine archetypes are explored through the feminine work so that she can heal and come to the masculine fully ready to speak purely as his oracle rather than from her wounded self. And so that the masculine can drop his wounding and his competitive nature to take from his brothers or to be validated in the world, disowned from his heart and controlled by his addictions, into his true self, who is taking action in the world, expanding into the consciousness of his light in her reflection, and producing from a place that uplifts humanity and that creates peace, and that only operates in war when it is of the utmost necessity. And he is training his body, his spirit, his nervous system, and his mind for war, so that at any moment, if he needs to protect this divine empire that he has built, he may do so, but not with the intention to allow impure forces to have a hold over him. And so this is the difference between sacred union and a modern marriage. I hope that that has been helpful for you, and I look forward to speaking to you in our upcoming live coaching call. Please check your email for the information on that, and go ahead and say anything you'd like to speak in the comments. Thank you for being here and taking this brave step into your sacred union. I'll see you tomorrow.